Well, hello and welcome to another LinkedIn Live Q&A when I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Price, who is the Business Development Leader for Europe, the Middle East and Africa for Oracle for Startups at Oracle. And so how are you doing today, Matt?
Yeah, very good, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. And today we're going to talk about going global with Oracle for Startups and the Oracle Cloud. But before we get started, you just want to say a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go into the details of the Oracle for Startups program.
Yeah, brilliant. And again, thanks again for the invite. Really, really pleased to have a conversation like this. So yeah, a little bit about me. My name is Matt. I'm based in the UK. Paul, as you mentioned, my remit is pretty broad in terms of the day job and businesses that we interact with and countries that they come from. But I'm based in the UK, brought up here. Just a little bit of the personal facts and figures. I'm married. I've got a daughter who's with us now and one on the way. So that's keeping me plenty busy outside of the day job as well.
Mm-hmm. And whereabouts in the UK are you based right
I'm
now?
based in Berkshire, so I'm about an hour west of London. And in the days when we used to work in offices, Oracle have a head office in Reading, Thames Valley Park. That was where I spent quite a bit of my time, and we might go back there. We'll see.
Well, we'll come back into that. We'll talk about
Yeah.
what we've just gone through, the impact of COVID and everything. But there is some information on the Newcastle Startup Week blog, all about Oracle for Startups and what's on offer there. But do you just want to try and give us a brief overview of what the program entails for anyone that doesn't know what it is?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we have a program. It's designed to help startups to scale and succeed. At the end of the day, it's all about trying to help those who are building and creating. So a global program really designed to do two things. We want to make it really easy and commercially compelling for people to try out Oracle Cloud. Certainly we want startups to begin a journey there. And then the second thing is all about the additional value add, access, opportunity, visibility that a brand like Oracle and the resources that we're putting towards that kind of program can achieve for the benefit of these startups.
Mm-hmm. So just a bit about what's on offer. So really, well, potentially anybody could apply, but it's really for tech digital businesses that are looking to scale and they need cloud technology to underpin what they do. But they get free cloud credits to get on Oracle Cloud, and then they get a very heavy discount. It's 70%
Certainly. Yeah.
discount for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they get access to mentors, industry experts, potential to reach some of Oracle's enterprise clients, and maybe to be featured in some of Oracle's marketing and events and PR as well, which I think is huge. A company the size of Oracle and the resources that you have at your disposal. If a startup or a small business can tap into that's massive. So yeah, how does that work then? How do you just talk through the process of actually getting onto the program?
Yeah, perfect. And I'll just come back to the sort of who it's for. We've tried to make that as broad as we possibly can. We want to help as many startups to take some value from what we're doing. So, yeah, any business that considers themselves a startup is kind of we're primed and ready to go. I think we more naturally suit a tech startup, those who are going to get most value out of exploring what we're doing. But the stage is also really broad. So it can be very, very early stage, a business that's registered, but is still kind of pre-MVP and figuring out what they're doing. They are very welcome. A business that is pretty well established and scaling and thinking about, right, we've conquered one market. How do we now scale into other spaces internationally? Like, we're here for you, and kind of and everyone in between. So if we were to use a funding frame of reference, which is imperfect, but it is quite a common reference. Maybe there's a sweet range somewhere between a seed and Series A or Series B. Like we play very, very well in that space, but that's it. So everyone's welcome as much as we can. The process of getting on, super easy. In our past, we had physical cohorts and locations and times during the year where you would apply. We've moved completely away from that. So any day during the year, from anywhere around the world, a business can sign up. And that's a very, very simple process through oracle.com/startup. I'm sure we can provide some links. And again, look back on Paul's previous blog.
Yeah. I'll definitely post some links underneath this video so people can access it really quickly and easily. And I mean, when we first started talking about doing things together, I've been through the process as well, because for another business that I was setting up, we were exploring using Oracle for Startups program, and it is a very easy onboarding process. You are kind of ideally need to go through certain stages to really benefit from the program. So it's not just sign up and away you go. There is some requirements from the start of the business side to show willing, I suppose, that you're actually committed to it. So
it's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So I'll jump in on that. So the umbrella term we have for that is called Market Connect. So when I said two big aims, how do we help people to use OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure? Now, if you simply join as a business and just have a play and then explore on Oracle Cloud, like that's absolutely fine. But those who are extracting the most benefit and squeezing everything they can from the opportunity are, like you said, showing willing and engaging with us through some simple things. So we have a handful of, I hesitate to say boxes to tick, because I think that devalues what we're trying to do. We have a series of qualification steps. And the way we communicate that is very much a help us to help you. So if you can arm us with the credible bits of the story, we ask for a vector logo. Why do we ask for that? Well, we want to do something with it. We want to stick it on some stuff. That's quite helpful. We ask for a customer use case example. Could be in proof of concept phase. It could be paid customer. That's absolutely fine. Why do we ask that? Because we want to understand, how do you tell the story? Why do you exist? What problem are you solving? And then where can we take that story and look to inject that into a forum, a blog that we're writing, a 2-minute audio podcast. We ask for you to get on a 1 minute, 2-minute video and just communicate your story. Again, it helps us to just get into your mindset and understand where could we amplify that storytelling. So there are some things that we ask, like, can you do these, fulfill these things, upload these documents? And then the final thing that we'll talk about is a minimal amount of cloud usage. All of that's about credibility to underpin the story. So is some of this now being built on, or is Oracle Cloud being used in some way for the development or furthering of this tech story? And one key point on that, we say to startups, look, we want to be really pragmatic and kind of approach that from a place of humility. It would be pretty brazen of Oracle to assume that you would automatically switch off everything you may be using in Amazon or Google or OVH or wherever you might be using stuff, and from day one stick it all in Oracle. We'd love you to, but it's probably more of a case of a step-by-step, do some testing, get your sense around, is this good quality, is it robust, does it fulfill what I need it to fulfill, and then we'll grow from there. So if you're using a bit of Azure and a bit of Oracle, fantastic, no problem. But you've got to be using a little bit of something of Oracle. Then we can start to build the story around it. And as we get to know startups and work with them more closely, we'll unpack that, and we'll support these businesses to move through those stages and qualify for more business building opportunities.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I think it's totally fair enough. And there's nothing difficult in there that you're asking people to do. And like you said, I think it's maybe because I'm from a marketing background, so I understand the value of that, because I've worked in large corporates as well, and I know that we were always looking for case studies, customers' case studies to feature in our marketing activity. And even to this day, I'll say to certain startups, small businesses, like the benefits of getting closer to some of the bigger businesses can be huge. if you think beyond just the technology or the software that they provide, if you think about all the other stuff that goes around, if you can get known to them, get known to the marketing teams, the PR teams, then they would love to feature you as in their activities, and that can really open some doors to you. And I think that is particularly huge for what you're offering with Oracle, because of the customers that you already have at the higher end as well. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, how that might potentially happen, or where it's maybe happened in the past, where you can buddy up?
Yeah, so and that's the destination. That's really where we want to get to, is how can we get you in front of customers, and we'll communicate that with some candor, right? It's there are thousands of startups that are part of this program and joined us globally. That's brilliant. So we're scaling to a really interesting point. Now, every single one of the thousands of startups are probably not going to end up with a tailored introduction into one of our big customers. So that's where we come back to not putting barriers in front of people, but how do we help you through some qualification journey that we can better get our heads around? What is it that you do? Where do you fit with our technology? Which of our big customers are crying out for what you do? That's a really, really interesting dynamic that we can help to uncover. But that's where we want to get to. So often it's sort of moving in stages. It's one of the first things that we'll do is just think about some content creation, or let's get you in front of some of our team to tell your story. Let's get you on a podcast and start to build out the awareness. Then we'll probably think about industry specific forums or events. We have these Meet the Startups events. There's one happening today actually around sustainability. So again, if you're a startup that works in that space, or we'll do one on fintechs, or we have a whole range. Can we bring you in? And the audience for those are our customers, but they're also the internal account folk at Oracle. So let's take fintech as a great example. Every single major tier one bank in the world is using Oracle. All right, there's some pretty big customer traction there. So if you as a startup are building something that is a great fit to add on to these tech solutions, and you want to get in front of that audience, well, it could be a really good conduit to do that. So you might find even through an event like that, there's a connection that can be made. There's one of the account directors or people within Oracle that are invested in fostering that relationship and proving ourselves to be innovative and bring new ideas to a big bank. Well, them knowing about what you do as a small business could be really, really informative. We've seen great examples. I'll just name drop one of many great startups we're working with. Business called Super Money in the UK. Starting to get really influential joint conversations with tier one banks. I won't mention the name just in case I can't for some reason. But we've realized we can do some really interesting things to promote businesses, and then everybody wins. Right, the small business gets great exposure. Our enterprise customer finds a new way to maybe think about tackling the problem, and it's great news for Oracle because it influences the nature of the relationship that we have with the big enterprise, and basically how we project ourselves to the world. So that's massive. So we do get to the point where we're saying, who of our big enterprise customers are you super relevant for as a business? Again, I will treat that with some expectation setting and candor, because I think we just need to be honest with businesses. There's a little bit of a journey to get to that point, but that's exactly where we want to get to, and that in itself is exciting.
Right, awesome. We'll probably come back. Well, we will come back a bit more to some of that, but I thought it might be a good time to talk a bit more about Oracle as a company. It's been around a long time. Since 1977, it's the same age as me. I was born in 1977. I know I don't look it, but I'm 44 as well, Matt.
It's a golden year, Paul.
It was a golden year. So I feel an affinity to Oracle. Growing up with Oracle, very familiar with the logo. But I think a lot of people might have heard it. Well, they will have heard of Oracle, or they'll have seen the logo, and they might know a little bit about it, but probably don't realize just the breadth and the range of services that you provide. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, about how it's grown and evolved, and
Yeah.
even in the time that you've been there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try and do that briefly. A year by year history of Oracle. But if we jump back to 1977, so in addition to your birth, Paul, which I've now discovered a monumental part of that year, think back to what was going on globally. Star Wars was released. Virginia Wade won Wimbledon. It's a great week. Anybody who's watching this live with Emma Raducanu absolutely smashing it at the US Open. But yeah, we kind of had some tennis stuff going on as well. And then that was the year that, a few folks, including Larry Ellison, started mucking about with relational databases, primarily for the CIA. So, and a lot has happened since. So if you look at the history, Oracle is most well known for relational database. That's kind of the thing that we're famous for. Even looking back kind of 15, 20 years, it just branched out into much more than that. So I think there's a common complaint within old school Oracle folk. Like, people just think we're a database company. We're so much more. So the full application suite and doing all of that, that was a big bit of Oracle's development. I came on the scene about 13 years ago. So I say to founders all the time, look, I think I can credibly look you in the eye and give you some insight into what Oracle's been doing and how we've been growing. 13 years ago, we were nothing like the business that we are today. So very much about full stack IT and how do we do things around the database level applications. We started a hardware story primarily through the acquisition of Sun way back in the day.
Wow.
And it's really interesting that all the things that Oracle have done well in the past, I think, enable the things that we can do now and into the future. If you look at Oracle as a cloud provider, there will be people that watch this interview that will pause and have a double take and go, hang on, Oracle is a cloud provider? Like, when did that happen? And that's been a really exciting piece of the evolution. So it's really in the last 4 to 5 years that Oracle became serious about the fact that we need to step up our game in this public cloud space, or frankly, probably get left behind. We went from missing to honest to kind of improving and maturing and getting there. And the last 1 or 2 years have been breathtaking in terms of, you chart Oracle's growth in cloud and the maturity and the performance and the predictability. It's really getting there. So look, we're biased, and I'll be the first to admit I'm enjoying a cup of coffee here laced with Oracle Kool-Aid. It happens. But look to what the analysts are saying. Look to what customers are saying. And they're saying, look, Oracle Cloud is there. We're absolutely at the table. And it's well worth a look. So Oracle is still passionate about high availability and scalability and security. These are as important today as they were back in the day, arguably more so. And if Oracle can truly do, I think, what we've set out to do, which is leverage the building blocks and the expertise and our heritage in this enterprise IT space, bring it into cloud, bring it into small business, that's something mega exciting. And yes, I'm biased, so let's get some other views on it, but we're there. We're very nearly there. So that's mega exciting.
Yeah, cool. No, I know what it's like with the big corporations. They can be a bit like a tanker. It can take a little while to turn them around. But once they do, when you've got once you've got the full resources behind it, it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, hugely. I agree.
I don't know, there's a little bit of an echo there, so I don't know if it's coming through at your end or not. No?
I'm hearing you fine.
All right. Okay. Maybe it's all right now. I think it's fine now. Okay, so why is Oracle interested in startups? You touched on it a little bit there. Just is it because like AWS is and others have just invested really heavily? They've maybe stolen a march a little bit. You know, they've got a bit of a head start, but you are closing that gap now. And it's just because the startups of today can be the big companies of the future. Is that really what it is? It's Oracle's been so successful and so busy servicing the larger end of the market, and rightly so, because we touched on it before we went live, that some of your clients that you've got, they are like the infrastructure of the world. It's the banks, it's the really the NHS, it's the organizations that we depend upon. So they need something really robust and reliable, and it's not going to fall over. So there's a reason why they've chosen Oracle and they haven't chosen some of your competitors. Because you've been obviously so busy doing that, maybe the smaller end of the market hasn't been such a priority, but you've got the larger end taken care of. Now it's moving down the lower end. And so when did the Oracle for Startups program begin? When did that?
Yeah, a few layers in there, really. Yeah, a little bit of history. So it was probably about 4 years ago that Oracle's first version of a startup program was launched and came into the world. The reason behind that, there's a couple of things. Primarily, actually, we believe in what startups are doing. So the purpose of our program really is to enable invention. So there are problems that need to get solved. There are things that need to get built in our world. We think technology solutions can play a fabulous part in bringing some good. Yes, big companies are gonna bring some of that. We believe that we, as Oracle, we're bringing some of that to the table, but we can't do it all. And innovation is constantly going to be led by the small and the agile and the fresh thinking that's coming from startups. So that's massively important. So how do we enable that creative process and actually do some good? We do want to tell great stories. So there's a risk of kind of being poetic. There's a sense of, look, how can we shine a spotlight on what brilliant companies are doing and why? We should be doing that because it's good. There is another layer to that, right? Oracle is very, we're committed to telling a great story for the startups that we serve. If it can showcase a great story for us as well, let's be honest, we're motivated by that. That's good. There is a sense that with Oracle for Startups, it's a 2-year journey. Like that's one of the really cool things, and it's a bit unique in the market. So there's not a 6-month cohort or an accelerator program in quite that way. Here's a longer term view of commercials and transparency and certainty, while we're providing a load of benefits as well. What we're hoping to happen at the end of the 2 years is hundreds of businesses that have had a fabulous time, have really enjoyed using OCI, have proved it, believe that it's a stronger fit for them than others, and are highly motivated to carry on using Oracle as grown-up trouser-wearing customers. Like that's great. Like so there's a it's not an ulterior motive. We can be really transparent. We are hoping to sow the seeds for future customers, and that's good. So there is a part of that motive behind why are we looking to open the doors and provide such a great service and opportunity to so many businesses. Well, there's a couple of layers to it there. You mentioned Amazon. Right, we're competitive, so like we will make absolutely no apologies that we believe that what we can bring to the table is now better than many who have gone before us, Amazon included. So like we're coming out to make an impact and to provide great value for startups, to get them using Oracle Cloud. No bones about it. We're going to go and fulfill that mission, and we're quite excited by the prospect of doing that. So look, there's a couple of different things that we can look at there in terms of why do we exist and why are we motivated to carry on building this program. But fundamentally, it's about It's about serving the startup community. We think there's great innovation that will take place through doing that, and that's good news for the startups. It's good news for us. It's good news for the enterprise customers that we serve also.
Yeah, that's good for everyone. It's like you say, if the startups do well, then that's good business for Oracle as well, because you want them to succeed and grow, and everybody benefits from that. So yeah, and I do think it's a really well thought out program. I'm not just saying it because you're on the camera now, but I do think it's a very well thought out program that you're offering there. So I hope that anyone watching this does take a closer look at it, or if they know anyone that's starting a business or in that growth phase, definitely take a closer look at Oracle for Startups. Just wanted to talk a little bit more about the impact of COVID on Oracle as well. So you mentioned before, have you actually been into your office for a while, or have you just been fully remote since the beginning of the lockdown? And so what impact has it had on you and your workforce and your colleagues?
Yeah, and it's been a strange time, right? I think for everybody. In fact, I was chatting to a startup earlier today. So, what's the impact been for you? And I have to say, personally, I've done well. A couple of adjustments with homeschooling and all of these things that many of us kind of went through. But it's been fine. Hey, I've had the privilege of being able to work completely remotely, to continue to be in the role that I'm in, continue to drive a program forward. That's been fabulous. Bigger picture for Oracle, everybody's been remote from, middle of March, whenever it was, kind of back when. The announcements came out pretty sharpish, and it was sweeping. So everybody collect anything you need and get out of town. So that's been interesting. And jury's still out. We're expecting some updates in terms of what will the go forward plan look like. I'm sure we'll be back in offices at some point in some capacity.
Yeah.
But hey, we're a technology business at the end of the day, and nearly all of us could just crack on and do what we do remotely, which it's been interesting. And I think when you track back to who's had success and who's really struggled to adjust and move into a new reality over the last couple of years, you look at those who have been on the front foot from a digitalization kind of perspective. They've just been able to cope, and they've had resilience, and they've been able to crack on. Some other businesses would have really struggled. So it's been an interesting time.
Yeah, it's incredible, really, that a company the size of Oracle can just go fully remote and still. I'm not saying it was easy. I'm sure there were lots of challenges, more from a management or people managing, or even like mental health and resilience, and people do miss each other and stuff like that. But the fact that, again, through cloud, if it wasn't for cloud, you wouldn't be able to do this. And many other companies wouldn't be able to continue doing what they're doing without the cloud technology. And one of the major successes, I suppose, during the pandemic is Zoom. So a lot of people have been using Zoom, and Zoom does use Oracle Cloud. So again, that's they wouldn't have been able to cope with the massive growth and upsurge in usage of their platform if they weren't built on top of Oracle. That's good credibility, good kudos for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I don't have the dates in front of me. I think that was sort of April time when just everything had gone crazy, and I think they had something like a 5x increase in their demand, and they were making some technology choices at the time. The end result was they did their validation and they chose Oracle. Again, brilliant. Back to the maturity of Oracle's cloud. We are very early to admit that we were late, very late to the party. But what we've built is phenomenal. And if you were looking for more proof points of credibility and maturity, well, okay, we're pretty much all using Zoom right now. Yeah, I can tell you who the cloud provider is. So that's good. And there are hundreds and thousands that, obviously great stories that continue to build that momentum. Yeah, I do spend a lot of my time on Zoom.
But I know. Well, I guess a lot of your role beforehand was out and about and meeting people and quite a bit of travel as well. So you missing that? Are you looking forward to getting out and about again?
Yeah, hugely. Yeah, I cannot wait to actually have some face-to-face conversations, possibly with a beer in hand, and just chat to people. It's fundamental, right? Just understanding what are they doing, being curious, and just connecting. We can do that to a certain degree on a screen, and we've had to, right? Everybody's had to make that switch. It's not quite the same, and I can't wait to get amongst it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you're going to come up to Newcastle in the northeast in a few weeks' time. So we're aiming to get that sorted out. And then what else have you got coming up? Have you got any other events? I think, are you going to go to Web Summit, Lisbon Web Summit?
Web Summit is potentially on the list. World Summit AI we're thinking about in Amsterdam as well. So a couple of things in a couple of months. Travel and logistics are still challenging. So I think many of us will be facing similar things of not just I want to get back out there and get to conferences and meet people, but do we do that in a way that's just wise, and is it always the right idea? We'll be probably restricting travel a little bit for the foreseeable. So we're navigating all of that as a team and as a business, and it's all good.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 tickets for Web Summit, and I really want to go, but I don't know if I don't know. I'm still weighing up whether I should go or not. Because the online version of Web Summit, it just wasn't like. I know I've moved on to online events, and I've taken part in lots of online events, and some have been great. I'm biased. I think the start of week events I did last year were great, right? But they're not the same as a physical in-person event. And definitely an event like Web Summit, you need to experience it to appreciate just how epic it is. Like when you get 70,000 people together in one place, and the buzz and the excitement and the energy, and you can't replace that. Technology can enhance that and support that, but you need that human connection. That's where the real innovation happens, I think, when you bring people together.
Yeah, I agree. And those days will return. I think we're in this interesting kind of hybrid limbo space right now. We'll see how it evolves, but we will build back, and there are bright days ahead, I'm sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially possible transition point into a bit more of the UK focused stuff that we're doing at the moment, if that's all right to chat about. So we're actually announcing that this week. So Oracle for Startups has been around and adding value for these last couple of years, which we've been deeply excited about. We're taking it to another level, specifically for the UK. So any startup that's really working in 4 key areas of focus. I'll come back to that in a moment. We're going to be enhancing Oracle for Startups with even more resources. So the 4 key areas, interestingly enough, COVID recovery is a key thing. So this whole point about building back and what does the future of work look like? Anybody that's working in anything related to COVID and COVID recovery, that's one of them. Anything from a sustainability and climate point of view, which we've known is important, and every year that goes by, I think our vision is being more and more clarified that if we don't get that bit right, not much else is going to matter. So that's really, really important. The third pillar we're talking about is all around diversity and equality and inclusion. And the fourth about health and well-being. Again, that could be quite broad. You mentioned mental health and resilience, just super important, and I'm a big advocate within our team, and just making sure that we're focused on the really important things, because it impacts everything else that we do. So those 4 things, if you're a UK registered business, you're a startup that's pushing something forward on one of those 4, like we want to do something extra special. So that's what we're announcing this week. And the key headline figure there in terms of cloud credits is we're going to provide up to £20,000 sterling for additional cloud credits. So We've deliberately not kind of picked our fight on who can provide the biggest bucket of free credit. It's possible to get some pretty chunky free credit out there. We're aware of that. We think our program adds value in some other areas in addition to free credit. Much of that we've talked about. But we can also bolster all of those good things with plenty more free credit when it's helpful. So that's a really, really cool thing that we're pushing forward. Launched this week. And again, it underpins our commitment to how do we help startups to push these things forward that are super important. COVID recovery, diversity, equality, inclusion, sustainability and climate, health and well-being. These are some of the big ticket items that we want to be a part of, and we want to help startups succeed in those areas.
Amazing. Yeah, well, I had a feeling I kind of knew something was coming, but I didn't know when it was coming, just from the conversations we've had previously. So that's really exciting that it's happening this week. So we'll look out for that, and I'll share links to that underneath the video and on the Startup Week channels as well when it comes out. So I'm sure you'll let me know. You'll send me the details so we can get it out far and wide.
Absolutely. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else that you want to say about the Oracle for Startups program for now? Like, or kind of where do you think maybe the gaps are, or kind of are you finding up until now, is it mostly people in a certain part of the country, or is the UK stronger than Middle East and Africa? Or like, how, for someone, your role is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So
yeah,
how does it vary across the UK, across those different territories?
Yeah, I see the full range. Like one thing we're really proud about is the breadth. So we are seeing startups, come onto the program, see that value add from all over the place. So I think at last count, we had something like 65 nations represented across that EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That's bonkers. That's actually really, really cool. So yeah, UK is strong, right? We got lots and lots of startups that are joining us from the UK. Plenty other areas or countries that we would highlight as top contenders. There's loads of stuff coming to us. Saudi Arabia, Germany, there's all sorts. But also the breadth is massive. So we've plenty of startups. What we're seeing in Africa is quite cool. So again, a big spread of African nations. The usual suspects, Kenya, places like that, where we know there's good things going on. But across a range of countries, we've got startups coming to us and getting on board. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And that'll only continue. We are looking to I guess double down and encourage more startups, certainly from the UK. Like again, that whole initiative and drive to take something that we think is good and make it absolutely outstanding for the benefit of those that qualify in the UK. That's great. Will we see things like that kind of bubble up into other regions? I'm not sure. Kind of see what we can do to add value, really.
Okay, awesome. Well, very exciting, and let's try and get a big surge of new people joining the program and benefiting from what you've got to offer. Do you think they should register now, or should they wait until the announcement, or should they just get onto the website and register now, and then they could still benefit from all the things that you're going to announce later this week?
Yeah, that's that order. You feel free, if anybody who's interested, you can crack on and sign up, or get in contact with me, and we'll make that happen. The announcements that will follow in the next couple of days will provide more information about this UK specific initiative. There's no reason to wait on that. If this is applicable for you, if we can start to add value to you, we encourage you to knock down the door and get started as soon as possible.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, well, I'm going to add links underneath the videos again, but if you just want to say again, where's the best place for people to go to find out and join the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an easy link, oracle.com/startup. Everything is there. That's the overall program landing page, full of good information about what is it that we're doing and why. You'll find some startup use cases, links to our blog site. You'll find all kinds of good materials and resources through there. A good one-stop shop.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I think we'll leave it there because I know you've got a busy day of calls and Zoom meetings and up ahead of you. So thanks again for doing that. Really enjoyed talking to you today, and thanks again for wanting to partner and talk about what you're doing through the Newcastle Startup Week
Thank
website
you
and
so much.
channels. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye.